Hi, everybody. Tim Hughes here. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. With me today, I've got Earl Cobb. Earl and I are going to talk about his, can you believe it, sixth book, as well as we're going to talk about Earl, of course, because this is about him. But before we get into that, I always ask this of my guests, where can people get hold of you?
Well, I'm all over social media. You can email me directly at earl@richyourlifellc.com. Or you can go to our company's website at richyourlifellc.com. If you do Facebook, I'm there at Rich Your Life Talk. Or if you tweet, why don't you tweet Rich Your Life Talk? And LinkedIn, you can find me at Irving Earl Cobb.
Fantastic. And you're a big, I mean, we met on social. You're a big user of social, so people are bound to find you.
Yes, absolutely.
So Earl, you've actually got you've had such an amazing life. You've got a degree in electrical engineering, which is the same as me. And you've worked at Motorola. You've talk us through a little bit about your life and how you got to be where you are today.
Well, I'll give the audience, you and your audience, the abridged version. Okay?
Oh, okay.
I've been absolutely blessed. It's just been an amazing 50-year journey. Matter of fact, this June will be our 50th high school reunion.
Wow.
Okay. And the school that I graduated from in a little town in Georgia, down here, we call it Vienna. In Austria, which I visited, it's called Vienna, of course.
Yes.
There was a total of 94 students. Okay, in the entire graduating class, and it was
that's small.
Yes, that's small, and it was the first class, okay, in our town that graduated from a segregated high school in 1971.
Right.
Okay. From there, it's been quite a ride.
Yes.
Tennessee State University undergraduate, Arizona State University graduate, wonderful internship after my undergraduate education with Honeywell Information Systems. Back then, they were in the computer business.
Yes.
That's where I spent 5 years being an engineer. And then I moved over about 5 years after that to Motorola. And that was the ride of a lifetime. I mean, that was when Motorola owned analog. Okay. And we were 170,000 people all over the world. And Motorola University had the opportunity to become one of the youngest vice presidents of the corporation back in the late 80s, traveled the world, ran their worldwide military radio business, left there in 97, back when healthcare was in the news again, back when Bill and Hillary was going to open up U.S. healthcare, and went with the company Reynolds and Reynolds and ran their healthcare systems business. Of course, we know how all that panned out. Went to venture, ran our venture company out of Gaithersburg, Maryland, focusing on the pharmaceutical back room, and bam, ran right into 9/11. You can read about that in my first book, Focused Leadership. But then I had an opportunity to sort of wrap things up as the head of data center management for the Wells Fargo Bank for a few years when they were going through all of the acquisitions of banking in the US. And once they acquired Wachovia back in 2009, I looked at the statistics and say, here's a chance to do something else. And that's what I've been doing since 2010.
Fantastic. So in 2010, you wrote your first book, didn't you? Focused Leadership.
Yes. Focused Leadership. That's sort of my memoir in a way.
Right.
When I left Wells Fargo, I wandered around the house for about a month in the golf course and back and forth. And my wife saying, Earl, you gotta do something. Okay.
Yes.
And that's when I put pen to paper and had an opportunity to spend about a year thinking about my corporate career. And that's what makes Focused Leadership a little different than a leadership book. There's 5 anecdotes about my career in terms of how I learned to do what I believe I did very well for the last 10, 15 years of my career, was lead organizations. Okay.
So it's a practical book, what you're saying, in terms of, it's not just about, this is not about theory, this is about practice.
Absolutely. 10 steps Okay. And at the end of each of the 10 chapters, there's a little matrix to say, now, if I do this, what will I gain? If I don't do it, what will I lose? Why would it make a difference? And it applies at all level of management in terms of organizational management.
Right. And then you've now got your 6th book, which is Leadership Front and Center, haven't you?
Yes. Interesting thoughts here, because when my wife and I traveled from Phoenix on the west coast of the U.S. over to our home in Savannah, where we are now, where we've been for the past 14 months, I had a chance to sort of think about what was going on, think about where I had been. And one morning I looked on LinkedIn and I couldn't believe that I had over 60 articles that I had written there over the past decade. Okay. Yeah. And the way I write, I just don't get up and say, I'm going to write. Okay. I can be on the treadmill at the gym and listening to a news or something, a thought hits me. Yeah. And then I will go on and share my thoughts with my LinkedIn followers. Okay. Yeah. And that's sort of how this book came about, because it contains 31 of those articles. Okay. Up until last year, we had this published last fall, I believe. And when you take a look at the book, you'll notice that each of the 31 articles aren't about the same thing. They're actually about the current events. Right. You go back to the articles in April, May, of course, you see a lot of COVID-19, a lot of things about what you should think about, okay, in terms of COVID-19. Remember one article I said, all this is going on, but there's one thing that I know, okay? I know who I am. I know where I've been. I know what I've liked. I know what I didn't like. I know what I want to continue to do. So wherever you are in your career doing this virus, just remember those things, and then remember that your best life, most likely, is in front of you.
Yeah. So that was the motivation behind the book, was it? The fact that you'd got those articles, and there was great value in those, and there was a time in which to share them as well.
Yes, and also it really emphasizes the approach that I've taken on writing about and coaching and speaking on leadership in the past 10 years. That is, leadership is one of those things that, leadership is one of those things that you say, okay, yeah. and you don't realize how omnipresent it is. Yeah, it's everywhere. It's everywhere in everything that we do. One of the things I talk about is leadership is not only omnipresent, it's involved in any conversation that you have with someone where there's a decision at the end that has to be made.
Yes.
And doing that process.
I've got a funny story for you, Earl.
Okay, go ahead.
I was in a queue the other day for ice cream. Mm-hmm. And in front of me, I don't have children, but everybody else in front of me had children. And of course, what happened was that they'd go up, and then there was this, they would spend 5 minutes basically working out which chocolate flavored ice cream that they were going to have. So I said to my partner, why don't you show some leadership? Why don't you go and write down what all the ice creams are, and announce it to the, you call it a line, we call it queue, announce it to the line, because then we'll actually get to the front quicker, because the children will make up their minds so much quicker. But it's true, leadership is omnipresent, and even something like standing in line for an ice cream, you can still, there's still leadership there.
Absolutely. And Tim, whenever someone comes to me and says, geez, I've been told by HR, I believe I need to improve my leadership skills, the first thing I do is say, let's go back and think about what you're saying. Okay. Yep. This word ship. Okay,
yes.
There's 974 words in the U.S. English language that this suffix is used. And what does this suffix do? Whatever it attaches it to, it turns it into a noun. Right. And if you attach it to a noun, it turns it into another noun. Okay. Yep. So let's start with an understanding of the relationship between lead, leader, and leadership. Yep. Okay. And one cool thing there that people get easier is think of friends.
Yes.
Everyone like to have friends, right?
Yeah, great example.
What's the characteristic of that action thing around your friends? They're friendly, right? That's how they become friends. And then you develop what you call friendship. So when you talk about let's improve my leadership, let your mind focus on the fact, now how would you improve your friendship? Well, leadership works the same way. And I'm not going to go through all of these, but one key one here is if you look at each of those iterations, there's a task, there's an action, which results into how does it become a noun? Through an individual, person, and what does that person do to really encompass the ship on top of that? Okay, it's create an experience. Okay, and that's what led me to, as you mentioned, what you want to talk about briefly today is this idea, the triangle approach that I've developed over the years to development.
So to talk us through this triangular approach, Al, I love this.
Well, first of all, as I mentioned, when I think about task, individual, and experience, okay, task is always at the base. And remember, this is an equilateral triangle. It's always at the base of the triangle. And that task, when you come to me and say, help me improve my development, that's your leadership challenge. Okay, so let's start. What is that challenge? You know, let's not talk like a leader now. Let's talk tactical. What are they asking you to do? What do you need to achieve? Okay, because lead, meaning that I had an aha minute and I know how to get from A to B. I understand where I am in A. I understand when I get to B. That's how I can lead. Okay, so once we get that part understood and clearly, then I'll ask you, okay, then let's think about, okay, the culture that you're operating in. Okay, because leadership is all about you and someone else, or you and many somebody else's. And within that relationship, that sphere, there's culture. That is, there's beliefs, there's principles, there's practices, there's expectations, and so let's just sit back and think about that. And you'll be amazed when I sit down and talk to some mature clients, okay, that they haven't really thought about outside of their head. Okay, just look around. How many meetings? What's the CEO? What has been the last 10 years? How do you interact? You know, one good story I have here, and I won't be long, but it's a very important one in my career. When I started with Motorola in 1979, Bob Gavin, okay, the son of the founder, was the CEO of the company. Okay, and I was out in Scottsdale, Arizona, at their government systems business, and the first thing I noticed when I left Honeywell and moved to Motorola was that they put these badges around us, and these badges had your name, your full name on it, and everyone wore one, including Bob Gavin. Okay, because he wanted a culture where people knew each other. So if you ran across each other in the lunchroom, by the way, which they used to have in companies, you can sit across from me. You don't have to say, "Hey, you."
Who are you?
Earl. And I can look across you. Oh, you're Tim. Okay. The idea of the culture that your company, your organization sets in place, maintains, will help determine that next step in terms of now, what kind of things do I need to do? What types of processes do I need to? What type of traits do I need to believe that I have? What type of skills that I need to acquire to create this experience that I want them to have, called my leadership?
Right. And you'd say that leadership is about human experience, not process.
Absolutely. I mean, processes are involved, like I say, when you really begin to think about the task, when you begin to think about what is it, the vision, the details. But when it comes to establishing and putting in place the momentum, the motivation, the inspiration that's necessary to connect with others individually and as a team and as an organization, okay? All of that comes from you understanding your humanity and understanding those things that are important to the people you're asking to follow you.
Right. And do you have any things that you can share with us in terms of examples of that?
Absolutely. And I'll do it in the framework, since I know we're running short of time here. I'll do it in the framework of leadership front and center. Okay. The essence, why I titled the book, along with my publisher, Leadership Front and Center, is because in essence, there are two key places that you should be if you consider yourself a manager or some type of supervisor in any kind of organization, and that you want to become a more effective leader and you want to establish some credible and meaningful leadership experience around your existence in the organization. And I learned this when I was a young program manager. The task that I had was to manage all of these engineers and scientists and to work with what's called the multi-forces, U.S. Air Force, Navy, and Army. And the task was that they needed to put high-level security on the American space shuttle.
Right.
I'm dating myself, but yes, that when it occurred. So I'm leading this team to create this space and ground hardware to go on the space shuttle, fit into a form factor that's already there. And I got to make sure that the Army, the Navy, the specifications, the ability that it's going to go. And I went as a young program manager thinking I knew everything and just, telling, generals or whatever. Then my mentor, a guy named Dave Newer, I don't know if Dave will ever hear this, but he pulled me aside. Okay. Cobb, you don't understand. Okay. People don't care what you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
So in all the discussions, I began to reflect on who am I speaking with? How am I connecting?
Yeah.
What's the way to get that same message across in a way that that individual or that team will connect? And it's different when I'm talking with the engineers. It's different when I'm talking to the production people. It's different when I'm talking to the generals in this particular case. Two positions to be in. First, front. Why front? Because you should be in front of both your personal and professional development needs. So, no one is born great. No one knows everything. You only know what you know. You don't know what you don't know. Okay. So you've got to get that. And that's beyond a degree or certification, because they'll give you the task stuff. Okay. But you manage tasks, you lead people. Then the second place you want to be as a team or organization leader is center. And what I mean by center is that all of your actions, everything that's going on around your responsibility, your team, or whatever, you should be in the center of it. Okay, you should understand what's there. That's how you can become authentically empathetic.
Yeah,
you become empathetic on your throne. Okay, you've got to be in the middle of it, and then as you do that, it's not just about you. It's not just about your team. There's a reason you and the team are there. It's your organization. It's your company. It's your mission. It's your focus. Never lose sight of that fact. Be front and center.
And center.
With leadership.
I think that's fantastic, Earl. I think that I mean, I've always seen leadership is about, it's about being the, you've got to be the light that people need to follow, and that part of that is about having the right behaviors. If you are exhibiting the wrong behaviors, then all they're going to do is exhibit the wrong behaviors as well. Absolutely. So you need to exhibit the right behaviors, and it's so key, as you say, to be front and center from leadership. I think that's a fantastic point.
And one analogy to follow up on your comment is the Olympic torch.
Yes.
One person runs around through city to city, wherever the country it is, right? And has historically taken that torch. Well, that torch is a light, right? Mm-hmm. But what makes that light bright are the thousands of athletes that have spent all that time and sweat preparing to compete.
Yes, very much so. Earl, thank you so much again. Remind everybody, can you put your book up again?
Sure, absolutely. It's Leadership Front and Center.
Thank you.
The best way to find me is Google Earl Cobb, and you'll see all.
And do you want to put your details back up as well in terms of, have you got your card, or is it?
Yep, got it here. Got it here.
Fantastic.
Email me at Earl Cobb. You can go to our website and find me and send me comments. Facebook, look at Reach Your Life Talk. Tweet me at Reach Your Life Talk, and on LinkedIn, Earl Cobb.
Earl, thank you so much for today. It's been fantastic. I really enjoyed your insights. I've been really looking forward today, especially you talking about the triangular approach. I thought it's just fantastic.
Yep. Yep.
Go on. No, go on.
I was going to say, and I'm going to get up and with my Bermuda shorts that I've got on, and go put my work clothes on and get something done.
Yeah. And thank you so much for spending the time with us today, Earl. It's been really fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the invitation, Tim.
Okay, you're welcome. Thanks.